Board meeting, Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. And I'd like to start out with establishing a quorum, which we have. And we do need to approve minutes from November 6th. Does anybody have any additions or deletions to our meeting minutes? None noted, then we'll keep the minutes as is. And first off, I just want to mention that our Linda Halliday needed to step down from second VP, and Julie Klieger has agreed to step in for us. Thank you, Julie, much appreciated. And Lori Bunn will be training her and working with her on the computers and such. So, and I know you've probably already talked to Donna, you guys will be attached at the hip. So.
I found that out yesterday.
Yes, yes, you will. Okay, oh, one thing I'd like to mention, and I will be talking about it a little more tomorrow, and we'll have, Karen Ashmore speaking about it, is there's going to be a Clay Club Relay for Life team, and we'll talk about that more tomorrow, donations and all of that good stuff, but Karen's gonna take some time to talk about it. Okay, and I don't want, pardon me?
Is that running?
Not here, it'll be just, it'll be just
Like
kind of a
walking
walk
around the
around the
track.
park.
Just like
It's
walking
not
around
gonna
the
be
track.
a 24-hour thing, it's just a few hours that we're out there, and they'll
okay.
have different things, so it's not like the standard Relay for Life where you go all night long. Yeah, it is not that. It's a much more age-friendly walk than, yes, absolutely. Okay, I just do want to mention a couple of things. We do need to finalize our committee leads and their teams. I try to keep them updated. It actually is responsibility of the first VP, but poor Patty's got a lot on her plate right now. But I'll work with you on that so we can get that updated on a regular basis. But what we're gonna have to do is we need to hold a committee lead meeting, and I will be sending that out within the next week or so. And the committee leads will all come together in a designated area, and they'll get to know whoever that they answer to. For example, I have the Facebook people, Wednesday Morning Fun usually answers through Facebook, but media and IT, and you have your group. Deb has social anyway, so we'll be able to discuss and answer any questions. There will be some new leads, so they'll have questions regarding the forms that you send out and what needs to be done there. But that's just in the works. So
Okay.
we'll be doing that in the next few weeks, at least identifying it when it's going to be. Okay, roller's been replaced, we already know that. It was $9.99. Linda Connell has adjusted the computer for us, so we now can write temporary medical exempt or permanent medical exempt.
I like that.
And it also has a data field, so if someone says now, I'm temporary, and Donna decides to set a date there for when they think they'll be off temporary, then she can follow up with them and say, okay, we're taking you off, or is there a need to do it longer? And she can do that. But otherwise, when you're permanent, you're no longer bothered.
Donna or
You're permanent.
Julie would do that too, as second VP. For
Yeah,
monitored
we
times.
need to, yes, we need to discuss that role and
I'll talk to her about it later on.
yeah, the three of us can discuss that too, because there was some problem where it really should be something that's passed through the board, especially if we're gonna go permanent. I don't have a problem with, temporary disability, being one of your guys' calls, that's fine, because you know what it is. I broke my leg, oh, it's temporary disability,
Right.
But if we have someone who comes in that has a serious disability, a sight problem or whatever, just can't do it, that is something that should be passed by the board. If it's gonna be a permanent disability, we need to have some discussion on that one.
That's a
Okay.
good idea.
Okay. Let's see, new test-in procedures for our test-in folks are being worked on right now. And, we hope to have that completed within the next couple of weeks.
New testing
Yeah,
procedures.
we have found that our people testing in are not getting adequate training on the club itself.
Oh,
We spend a lot of time in our beginning hand building class teaching them about glazes and not using greenware in glazes, and about how far down you would glaze your piece so it doesn't stick to the kiln shelf and those type of things. We need to do the same thing with those people who are testing in, and they need to know we only fire kiln 5, 6, and just so on and so forth, and our safety procedures and all of that. What has been happening is they come in and make a cylinder in their past and walk through and show in the club. We're going in more depth, and we're going to be tapping Betty and seeing if we can't get another designated person. Right now it's Teresa who comes into the classes, but if they don't mind, maybe she won't mind doing it, but maybe someone else. So that's all still in the works, just giving you heads up, Betty. That, anyway, I think it's gonna be a better deal. It's gonna be 2 3-hour days, so that we have one day dedicated to our club, how it works, kiln, glaze, hands-on, safety, and a thorough walk around where the little sandbags or bean bags, whatever they are, and the little twirl around units and whatever, you know, everything will be given there. And then on the last day, they will be hand building. We are no longer, and I know this will ruffle some feathers, and it is with one exception, we are no longer going to say, if you can throw a pot, you are a club member. We are going to say, we are a hand building club. My understanding is this is the way it was initially. And you can take our hand building class, or you're welcome to challenge the class and do a test in if you think that you're proficient at that. Our test in, what they have to make, that is changing. It's not just a little cylinder anymore. So all of that is still in the works. But in the past, we've had somebody who's been able to walk in and, okay, if they could come up with some kind of cylinder, then they passed. And it's just not enough. We're finding that some of those test-in people are really wanting to do hand building, and they test in because that might be easier. Maybe they had some of that in their past. And then they're coming in and they don't know how to use the roller. They don't know about where you can pound clay and where you can't pound clay, and where you wedge, and that they are not the same thing, pounding and wedging. So in order to keep our club in good running condition, it's been found that we need to give this better education up front to those people testing in. She's new.
She's new. We forgive you. We forgive you.
airplane mode.
Anyway, so there's a lot to be said there, and I know that we'll have some more input as this goes on. I'll try and kind of run through permanent medical, distinguished members.
Will that be on the calendar then as 2 days?
Yes,
Yes,
And then I would go in the first day to enter them like I do with the
Yes.
weekend?
yes.
yep. Okay, and
Not very many.
distinguished members, if people ask you, we just need a little reminder that the only thing it eliminates you from is doing your service hours.
That's it.
Everything else is the same, you still pay the same, all of that.
And another thing that I told Julie too, we checked 2 people, but we did look at their driver's license, and if anybody else checks it, they need to tell Julie, because she's the last one that puts it in the computer.
And you know
to-
what, I did check a couple of them, and I put them in the computer, cause I have the ability to do that, but I noted something that you were doing that I didn't do, and that you actually put their birth date.
I think that
in
was
that-
a new
that is a
option this year, cause
well,
I had.
There was no place to write it before.
Uh-uh.
No,
Yeah,
or we could
that's
write
what we
that.
use for the exceptions and
Yep.
things like that, so that is perfect, you guys,
That
thank you
worked
for
out good.
doing that.
And I initial it too.
You do initial it?
I
Okay.
initial it, so I know it was me. I don't know, there's
Okay.
something went in the C. Who's that? It was,
Okay.
L something
Okay.
C, and I'm like,
Okay, let's move on.
why would she do it?
We now have kiln wash available.
Wait, you missed
Oh,
one.
good. You missed one.
Service members who did not meet
Oh,
service
are, you
requirements.
guys are working on
We
that
will,
list?
we just,
That is
I know.
priority right now.
I know it is, I know
That's
it
the
is.
number one.
I am
That
concerned
and,
about
what is it, the CR5?
Yes.
We've got
And
to
I-
have those right
And I
away.
called Linda and she said to get with Debbie, but it might be Debbie Manchester,
Yeah,
to
I
make
don't
sure.
have anything
I
with the
think
CFO.
I know which one it is, but I don't remember doing it, so I don't know if we send it, or if we just print it out, or,
I know
I
nothing.
just don't
Okay,
remember. I think I found it.
I will take some time with you after this
Good.
class and we'll investigate it, cause it's important and it can't be
Yes,
rolled down,
This is January.
Yep.
rolled down the way.
okay.
And that's the same thing with the people who have not met the criteria. Unfortunately, with, all the things that went on, we're a little behind on the second VP duty, so we've got some cleanup to do
And
before.
Linda may have printed out the ones who were lacking in time toward the end of the year. I just,
Well, she did at one time, cause she showed it to me.
Okay, well, let's
Okay,
let
we'll
that go,
worry
we'll
about it.
discuss
Yeah,
after the
she's got it
meeting, okay? All right, and we do have kiln wash available. There are a lot of people, and I think they're even talking about in the beginning hand building now, that it's a good idea to make your own
Yeah,
shards.
well, what I'm gonna do is, we're taking the leftover clay from the instructor, if she hasn't used it all, and we'll be making shards for beginning hand building, and then explaining to them why and how and putting them on.
Wonderful.
Even though they may not need it, because we only dip one, it will get them used to putting it on, measuring, figuring out, we don't have this big of a shard for this little piece of stuff, that kind of thing. So
Rod
we'll-
Fredmore is gonna do a class too. I think we were looking March or something, for shards, how to
Oh.
make them, and, cause there's a lot of people who
Stilts,
don't.
I think he's focusing
Stilts,
on the
yeah.
stilts.
Oh, yeah, we're
Oh,
doing
sorry.
We're talking
Don't-
shards.
Don't
Okay.
need stilts in there.
Yeah,
Still,
but
just,
I think
just
that
the
would be
shards.
yours.
But we will be making shards and they will be having BHP printed on them. So whenever, if something gets taken back, we need to make sure we get them and they don't end up in the drawer.
They'll go to beginning hand building.
That's
Okay.
correct.
And please, folks, if you know of anybody who is just taking shards and sticking them in their locker, or I've found some in different areas that I will talk to people about that were stashed away. It's really, it cripples the rest of the club when people do that. So it doesn't hurt to make your own shards, and where I was getting at is, we now have kiln wash. And the kiln wash is in a little bucket on that lower basket where all of our slip is. And that is for people who make their own shards. It says on it, just put on a light coat, there's a little brush there, or they can use one of their brushes. And so it's set, so it doesn't have to be just the team, we still have our team people who make shards. But with the heavy use that we have, they're getting broken, they're getting lost, and what have you. So just wanted to let you know that that is available. There is not a charge for it, because at this point, the thought is that they're helping us maintain our kiln. And I would rather them use a shard on a high fire piece, or a piece that has, any paint on it, even if it's low fire, or any glaze on it, than to have to explain to Betty why it's melting all over her kiln.
What is it? Kiln wash do?
It's a white, it's kind of a paint on, just a light coating that keeps things from sticking to your shard.
So,
So you fire your shard, low fire it, once it's bisque, you take it, you paint a little bit of it on, then when you go to use it, you have less chance of things sticking to it.
oh,
Just wondering, why can't they make their own shard with their stamp on it in beginning hand building?
Because they don't have enough clay. They use
They're
up,
really
they're
using it
using,
all?
oh yeah, cause they're using almost all their clay.
So the shards you're gonna make are for the general population?
No, the shards we're making with the leftover
It's for
clay that we
them.
have, because we, as an instructor,
it's
we
for
don't
them
waste
then.
it as much.
So
And
they
then
could
they'll
put their
be-
name on it.
They'll be,
correct?
No, it's
because
gonna go back
BHP.
to beginning hand building
we're
and
gonna
they'll
use them
reuse
over and
them.
over with beginning hand building. They can make their own shards down the road for their own projects. These are gonna be made for the beginning hand building projects to sit on.
Okay.
They're not gonna be given to the student.
Can that
But now the
messaging-
student knows how to make their own after doing
Correct.
these.
Right.
Oh, they had extra.
Can that
money.
messaging though, come to them during beginning hand building that I know you're talking about instructor play, this will be made during their class
No,
time?
no,
Okay. Never
because we
mind.
don't have time to make shards in the class. We're tight as it is. We're running over sometimes.
Yeah, I was thinking it was during the
So
class
we
time
will
too.
explain what they are and what we do and how we use them.
And that
But-
they have the skill set to please do that.
Then we can tell them, yeah, I mean, they'll know how to roll out clay and they can cut it out and, that would be an easy project that they could do right away.
With no sharp edges.
There are even a couple of big rounds hanging
I saw
up at
that.
the measuring
I saw
board,
that.
and those are to be
cool.
used for
Mhm.
making shards.
Yeah, so we
Okay.
we can add that, we just don't have the time to make them. I wish we did, but no, we don't.
Okay. Let's go. Okay, next up, Deb, what have you got for us?
Okay, financials. At the end of December, our checking account was way low, $36.41. Savings was $11,003.43. CD1 was $10,744.86. CD2 was $21,489.73. And CD3 was also the same, $21,489.73. For a total of $64,764.16. We have $116.50 in interest that has been accrued on the CDs, but the new CDs do not mature until March 9th. Okay? When the CDs renewed in December, the best rate that I could get through Chase was 3.5 for 3 months. I would like permission to discuss with some other local banks on taking over our financial things, like Western Bank consistently has higher CD rates, The thing about Chase, which is our current banker, is that they waive all the fees for the amount of checks and cash we deposit and how many, all that stuff. So I'm just gonna see maybe what Western Bank can do and possibly make a change, kind of maybe cut a deal, just because we have a lot of money invested in CDs, and if we can get a little bit more interest and the same monthly, yearly, no fee thing, we might wanna consider that.
So we need a consensus of the
Yes,
board
we do.
members
To investigate.
to investigate. So okay, who thinks that's are you all positive on that?
All positive.
Everybody's good?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll
good. Go
investigate
for it.
and report back at the next meeting. I would also, because I'm, kind of taking the role of the date for the tool sale, I was wondering if we could set a date for that, the used tool sale, the used tool sale, all that stuff that's in the closet that's, in my way. I didn't know if,
Do you have a time that is looking a good one?
Well,
I'd
most
say
of the-
do it in February.
yeah, most of the snowbirds are back, so, I think anytime, and my calendar's pretty open, so.
I have to look through one more locker that I'm going to be emptying very
Okay.
shortly when I have time. And that I'm going to let stay in a locked room till the end of this month.
Okay.
So
Yeah, just let me know.
I'm not even sure what's in the locker.
Okay.
If there's any more tools, then you can add.
Yeah.
to it.
And do we wanna have it in the morning again? I know our classes are really full. Would it be better to have it like
How about an
in
evening one?
an afternoon, like starting at 4
Yeah, I like that idea.
instead of, starting?
Yes.
So, all right,
I like that idea.
Starting at 3 or 4, one of the two, whatever.
yeah,
Three.
do you want me to work with, who's the calendar, Lori? Picking a date, or is
Yeah.
there,
I think that sounds good.
Okay.
A date in
in
February,
February?
starting at like 4 o'clock, and we can make it an evening thing, so it'd be a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay,
Some date in there that we
Okay.
can
all right.
utilize.
Cool.
That'd be
3
great.
days.
And then also I've made a connection with for the Luke Smash Room donations, and they are still not accepting at this
Okay.
point in time, so
Okay.
the bin's not out yet. So,
Okay, thank you.
and I think that's all I know.
How do you do the sale? Used tool, like, is it set up in the,
We'll set it up in the Dickley studio,
okay, that's what I
and
was
things will
wondering.
be priced.
Right, yeah.
Just, it's, club members only.
Where are these tools from?
People who have left,
Oh, they left. the
Donated.
donations.
even when you donated all those
Yeah.
leftover tools, they're in a bag, ready to be sold, you know. We make them available.
And the
to
money
them.
goes where?
And the money goes to the social committee, to offset the cost of the Christmas party for us.
As the cost of the Christmas party this year, it was free to us, $30 to our guests.
Right.
The actual price tag was
Was
what, close to
47.
$50?
Yeah, it was 47
Really?
per person.
Yeah, so by doing stuff like this,
Yeah.
we're able to bring it
To
down.
offset
Okay.
that
That's good to know.
that huge expense.
You might mention that in your ad about when the sale is and what it's for.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right, I will do that.
Very
Thank
good.
you, Betty.
Thank you, Betty. Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Did everyone know that I took over Glora's position, so if anybody needs to
Sorry about that,
let me
Lori,
know.
that's
No,
a good
that's
thing.
okay,
I need
that's
to
okay.
add
I
that to our,
don't need to-
Yes.
I'll go. Yeah, so if anybody needs to put anything on the calendar, you'll be going through me.
She's our calendar girl.
I
Well, your calendar and you write her on the teachers, on their CRAs, their W-9s, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So it's, education lead for
Yeah.
that.
Is that what
side.
I'm called, education lead?
Um,
Jude asked me and I said, well, I don't know.
What do you're
Calendar girl.
BHB lead? Yeah.
She came up with something, I can't remember. It was something calendar lead, I think.
It's not,
Because you
it's
do-
not
Well,
called
it's just
calendar,
your
it's
calendar.
under
You're
education.
It's under
It's
education.
under education,
It's
she's the inside,
education.
inside teacher.
Yeah,
She's
so
the
you're
Clay Club
education.
education.
Huh?
Right,
The Clay
see,
Club education lead
right.
for
Yeah,
all
for the,
classes
yeah,
inside
inside
within
classes and
within-
everything.
All inside classes, yeah.
BHB.
Okay,
in-house class.
so let's
Janet is
continue
outside.
on, excuse me. Let's continue on. Remember that all the side chatter that we have, if you're sitting close to the microphone or close to what recording is, you're overriding everybody else, so. Okay, so let's go ahead with, Patty Carberry. Do you have anything that you'd like to chat about?
I had a request for, rubber gloves by the Glazes for people, you know, to use.
Okay.
We were talking, it was mentioned, like the yellow, you know, when you wash your dishes, Rubbermaid gloves, I guess it might be called. And I said, okay, or there's the disposable, which you know, so that was a request, could we get rubber gloves, any kind? So that some people that are really hesitant to touch.
Yeah, the answer is yes, we can.
Okay.
Do you think that the yellow gloves are adequate?
I think the yellow gloves are overkill, because people aren't gonna
Yeah.
wash them and take
That's
care of
right.
them and whatever. So disposable,
I
but,
love that disposable.
since I've been treasurer, we have never provided them. If people want gloves, like if they're doing oxides and stuff like that, they have their own gloves.
Yeah, I buy my own.
I don't think we need to provide them.
But this is for the Glaze Committee though?
No,
No.
for
No,
people
okay.
using glazes.
Glazing.
I think if.
Your individual use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that that's a personal use, cause I think
You've
it'll
got
be
size,
abused.
you've got size issues
Size
too.
issues.
You've got
and
latex
come in-
allergies.
They come in
Oh,
sizes,
there's a good idea.
Latex allergies, yeah. Yeah,
so.
I would say no.
So as a board,
I would say no.
what do you think? No, let them do their own.
I would say no.
Consensus is no, let them buy their
Yeah,
own.
I mean, that's what I
Thank you for bringing it
put
forward.
that
Yeah,
in my, everybody has extra ones if they want them.
yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing, which isn't really to do with me, but, who's responsible for making the 2025 true value?
Well, you know, I'm really not. I just did it last year. That is gonna become yours.
Oh, that's Vice President Shaw.
It does belong at the monitor desk, and I just happened to be there last year, and I grabbed a copy, or I made something or whatever and changed the date. All you have to do is change the date.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we talked about that, and I said I could do that, I just
Now
didn't
you are.
know.
Yeah,
And is the
Yeah.
Bob's thing the same?
we don't have a Bob's.
You
thing.
don't have a Bob's thing, okay.
Just
maybe
True
that's
Value.
another place.
Just True
Okay,
Value.
all right.
Only True Value.
Okay, I wanna clear,
Mm-hmm.
just, I'll redo whatever it says now.
That's perfect.
That's right. And so if anybody
Different
wants to
color
go to
paper.
True Valley, or True Value, or whatever,
Mhm.
then they can.
Yeah.
Okay.
They, we don't have an agreement with Ace or
They
anybody
can
else.
ask, and if they say, yeah, we'll take one, then they can show it. I mean,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay.
So they can, you just make those up, they put their name on it. I've gone to True Value and I say, I'm with Clay Club, and they
say,
give it
okay.
to me.
Well, that's
You know,
nice.
But I've been in there too, where somebody came back and told me that they denied her because her name wasn't signed on the card.
Oh,
So again, it just depends on who you get, so give them the card, have them sign it, and then you're golden.
So you're saying you have the template already built?
Yes,
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
just
Templates are
making
Yeah.
one color
And where
paper
may
and
I
there.
find that?
I'll have to check.
I'll
for
bet
you,
it's in the
because
master.
I'm not sure that I didn't remake it and then just do the date, so,
It's very simple, very small, that's,
okay,
I'll do it at home.
that sounds perfect, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay.